Hello everyone, I'm back with the final video of this year because 2020 has kind of sucked so far. So, we're going to go and I'm going to do a top 10 favorite figures of this year. So, we have number 10, which is the Studio Series Optimus Prime from the Bumblebee movie, or SS-38. This figure is really good in every way possible. The articulation is superb. Arguably, probably the best I have seen. His articulation is superb. The painting is bare minimum, but I can understand it due to this as a kid's toy, kinda. And he's probably one of the rarest Studio Series out there. Thankfully, I got him in a lot, along with a few other figures like I don't know, Megatron, Hot Rod, and Shockwave. Reviews of those coming soon, I hope. And also transformation, this guy, he's a lot of fun to do. He's a lot of fun. I'd say the only complaint is that this part always just explodes on me, which is sad. So is that. And he's probably a pretty decent figure. So, number 10. Oh, and also he has a trouble fall. 9, number 10. And we're gonna go into the juicy part where we got mostly Godzilla stuff. So, number 9 is Bandai Creation, or not really Bandai Creation, Bandai America's Mechagodzilla. This figure I customized. As you see, it's not the greatest, but certainly not the worst. So it looks like there's black. It looks like simulating missiles, and then the vent is like also black. You know, this is a pretty nice figure to play with, despite even though I broke that. But it does suffer from this very odd stance, but it could have been worse. Remember, that NECA Godzilla, remember that Bandai Creations 2000? Yeah, this figure is way better. Plus, he's the most amount of fun. He has everything that usually a Godzilla figure would need besides a moving and opening and closing jaw. He has movable legs, movable arms, and a movable body and head, which isn't bad. It's just I wish the jaw was articulated, but other than that, pretty decent figure. So, and also the reason why he's this low is probably because, I actually think there are better figures of this Mechagodzilla out there. So, number 9 goes to the NECA Godzilla 1956 version. This figure, I feel like, is a massive step up over the original. Because I have the original 1954 Godzilla, and it more looks like a bootleg due to the eye is crossed out, eyes cross-eyed, his teeth are messy. Not the greatest. But this figure feels so smooth and not that bad, to be honest. He has the atomic breath. Just feels so much better. And that poster looks amazing. I put him the reason why he's number 8 is because, I feel like this is just a repaint, but this is like one of the examples how a repaint is better than the original, in my opinion. But anyways, number 6 is where I somewhat struggle because since number 6 is Godzilla 2002, there are 2 variants. So I'm going to go ahead and combine them into one. Same with 89. So just to make sure, here are the variants. Here is the variant, Godzilla Tokyo SOS, the Hyper Mazer, and the original. These figures are arguably, for some people, way better than the Monster Arts. Now, granted, I'm still looking for that Monster Arts figure, but but this figure, for now, he's actually my favorite. In terms of, NECA Godzilla, he's, second favorite. It's just that the neck needs a lot more working, and in some proportions look a bit off. However, he looks amazing in every way possible. You can get him into a lot of good poses, and you won't be disappointed. He just looks so amazing. His overall, his His articulation and painting and sculpting is definitely one of the best. It would surprise me. It would surprise me that NECA is making an 89 and this guy. It still surprised me. Next, and then we have the Hyper Mazer. To be honest, this is one of the more unnecessary releases, but for some reason, he feels somewhat smoother than the original. Like, his body feels fine, his legs feel fine, nothing about it is wrong at all. What these figures mainly hold back is that I think it's the eyes and the overall neck. The neck is definitely the biggest downfall. Just very, just a stiff neck, and it does not look good. But anyways, I still recommend these. So, that's number 6, I think. Yeah, number 7 is a very tough choice because I had so many figures for thinking during this list, but number 7 was probably the hardest one. And that would be the Studio Series Shockwave figure. Even though this is exactly the same mold as the Studio Series Megatron from Revenge of the Fallen, he is just so amazing to look at. Probably my favorite Shockwave ever. He was one of the figures I really wanted. Unfortunately, he does suffer because the blade here is made out of rubber, and I don't know why it's made out of rubber. I'm fine with most of the other parts being made out of rubber, but can you please make the blade at least a little bit better? Already, we're going through hate, but personally, he just feels so much better over that clunky original. But don't get me wrong, the original is perfect. It's just I might have gotten a different figure because he has a different paint scheme. But this figure just feels so much fun to pose at every way possible. It's just he might get a bit finicky due to, and depends on the surface. So, as you see here, here's me having some trouble with a Shockwave figure. But anyways, pretty decent figure for around 70, 50-ish bucks. I would suggest get him lower, but if you want him, if you want a transformable Shockwave figure, this is the one to go. So, 5, and this is where I somewhat regret making that top 10 favorite Godzilla figures release. Now, here is what used to be number 1. Godzilla 2019 from SH Monster Arts. This figure is arguably my somewhat favorite SH Monster Arts, but it depends. He's the only favorite SH Monster Arts I own. Sure, he may have some problems, like the legs are a bit loose and the tail, but he is arguably the best one. He's probably the best Godzilla I've seen. And I think this is perhaps way better than most of them, like Godzilla 2019, because Godzilla 2019, since I owned the original release, sucks. And the reissue is slightly better, so probably, I don't know, probably I'll get that, but I don't think so. So, but overall, I think what holds this guy down is the looseness, how loose the tail is, and the neck is just like a snake neck. Plus, the more I think about it, the more I regret making him as number 1 favorite on my favorite Godzilla list. Anyways, number 5. Right. Now we go on to number 4. Number 4 was probably the most hardest one to... I don't know if it's the hardest one, but it was probably, kind of hard between either SH Monster Arts Godzilla 1995 Birth version or Godzilla 1989. I decided to go with the latter, Godzilla 1989, and its variant. Both of these figures are amazing. This is arguably my favorite NECA Godzilla figure. He has, even though the articulation is stellar. It's superb. It's way better over the over 94, which people consider the worst. He has, everything is so great about this figure. The tail, the articulation, the painting is so much better, even though the teeth are a bit more questionable. Now once we move on to the 89 variant, it's still a pretty decent figure. But again, an unnecessary release. He feels smoother. And I heard there were some complaints with his body, how the paint gets stuck on the joints. Sadly, no. On mine, it's doing fine, and his legs aren't as loose, his tail isn't as loose, so it isn't as bad. So, yeah, I think he still looks pretty good for what he is, especially if you want to at least buy him. But I suggest getting the originals. They're probably way better. They're actually way better than this. You will get this if you're a completionist, or if you're just gonna get the Biollante after all. But anyways, number 4, actually number 3, I think. I don't know. I barely. We move on to number 3. I'll just do a quick little basic. What is it? What should I call it? A quick little honorable mention. So I don't know if it's quick, to be honest. So we have Godzilla 2019 Burning Godzilla. The reissue, due to the joints, are a lot better, and he feels more unique. He feels really nice to hold in the hands. Then Godzilla 2014 from NECA. Arguably one of my favorite NECAs. Not as high, but he looks just amazing to look at. Just amazing. Well, not amazing to look at, but amazing to pose, really. And the painting is really nice, even if it's not as glossy. Oh, there's Leatherface. Then we have NECA Godzilla 1964. Arguably one of the best from the Showa Godzilla lineup from NECA. He feels so much better than 62. And this is, he just has this amount of posability and the amount of, and the paint application and amount of posability, that it's just way better than 62. Glad I got him first over than 62 first. And then Godzilla 1995 Rebirth Goji. This figure was close, but it's kind of hard to pick. Either it's Heisei 89 or Heisei 90 or Heisei Rebirth version. I like Rebirth version more because he has the articulation is just amazing, but I like also 89, so it's kind of hard to pick. So, but if he was in the list, he'd be tied there with 89. He's probably the most amount of fun I had with a Heisei Goji. Hell, I got it for $50. Then we have Godzilla. Then we have not really Godzilla stuff, but horror movie stuff. Starting off with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface figure. I got it since November. I would put Ghostface here, but I don't know about that. This figure is just amazing. Sure, he has the articulation on the arms bother me, and the lack of alternate hands also bother me, but he has so many opportunities to make more ultimate stuff. I like this a lot more than the retro cloth Leatherface. It looked awkward to me. Then we move on to the remake Jason I got during October. This figure is amazing and is amazing to pose and amazing to photograph, especially with the bag head. But he has some problems. The hockey mask has a horrible paint job. I think they're trying to reference the poster more than the actual movie. And you can even see the hair is literally just attached. It's not like the hair is just connected to the head, which is kind of sad and kind of a horrible way NECA did it. But he's a bit more forgettable, but he's a pretty decent figure. And then we move on to Roy Burns. Now, arguably, it's either Roy or it's Freddy vs. Jason that are clearly my favorites. Roy has really great articulation. However, this hand does not attach well. It's a bit loose. The mask and head, the accessories, and the articulation, how it's based off from the Michael Myers body mold, is completely fine by me. Because that would make him probably the best Jason, which arguably he is. But I like Freddy vs. Jason a bit more. I don't know, sentimental value. I don't know. And then we have Lost, which Lost has really great stuff going on. But the one thing that sets him back is that I already have this figure. I already have him, but thankfully he has some things. First, he's not as loose compared to the original I have, and he has very great painting and articulation, way better than the original, and has a lot more accessories. It's just, the sad thing is, I already have this figure, so there's no use of really getting it, and that's why I'm looking forward to get Scout desperately. Man, EB Games, where are you at? You haven't notified me. Come on. And then we have Part 2, Freddy Krueger. The only Freddy Krueger I have, and the only one I bothered to get, because Part 3 wasn't there, and I didn't want to get Part 1 because it looked hideous to me. Part 2 was definitely the better choice. He has a lot of great accessories, and even if he has not that, and even if the claws are a bit bent, and let's say the flame effect right there is not the greatest, he's actually the most amount of fun I had with a Freddy Krueger figure. And I say this is a vast improvement over the original. Then we move on to the final ones. Now, I would put another honorable mention that I'm not sure if I'll picture up, but insert here Part 3 and Part 6 Jason, even though my package is supposed to arrive January 8th. Wow, thanks a lot, Post Office. But really, those two figures are amazing, even though Part 6, it looks like his mask is an egg. It looks awkward. And Part 3, even though he might be a bit forgettable because I like Part 4. Speaking of which, oh, there's his hat. Wait a minute. And also, Dream Sequence Jason. These two figures I decided to combine because they're roughly the same figure. They have the same sculpt and the same amount of articulation. It's just their heads are a bit different because you can remove the mask on this one, while this one you can't. Also, he's more wet, and he also doesn't. Also, he has a alternate hand for this hand, having a split hand from 4, and then this one is supposed to hold a corkscrew and hacksaw along, while the normal hand in the box is supposed to hold his machete and other such, besides the corkscrew. These two figures are pretty good. I think this is either a bootleg, but I think it's a reissue. But otherwise, he's actually the most amount of fun. These two figures are the most amount of fun I had with Jason at all. So, pretty good figures so far. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like Freddy vs. Jason or the others are way better. But anyways, those are my honorable mentions. Number 3 is going to go to the NECA 100th Predator figure, the Alpha Predator. I'll admit, this actually lives up to its name. It's probably the best articulated Predator figure I've had in, like, ages. Yeah, but look at this. He just feels so much better. Except his legs feel really satisfying, and the articulation, despite the sculpt that makes me get a bit scared because he looks like it's a bit sharp and it's gonna break, he has no problems at all. One minor gripe that I have with this figure is that his legs are loose. It's not that great. And, come on, NECA. Well, maybe it's just this leg, but he has some trouble standing. Kind of sad. But also, it's a lot of fun to pose. So anyways, number 3. And also for number 2 and number 1, they will be combined because they're both really good figures, to be honest. So, number 2 and number 1 are... Alright, number 2 and number 1 is the hardest one I could do. Number 2 and number 1 are... Number 2 is the Freddy vs. Jason. And I cannot comprehend this figure looks... I am instantly regretting of putting him at number 2 because number 1 is 2018's Michael Myers figure. I know it's the wrong season, but screw you. This figure is amazing. Freddy vs. Jason first. Freddy vs. Jason has probably the best amount of articulation and painting so far. He has, even though the articulation is a bit limited, he's probably the most amount of fun I had with a Jason figure. He's also the Jason I really wanted to open desperately, so yeah. And he's also his painting is very close to the original. It's very close to the actual movie counterpart. Is this the main problems I have with him are the lack of hand accessories and the loosey-goosey legs. Now, as for Michael Myers here, oh good lord. This figure is probably the best Michael Myers besides H2. You can't tell me that those original figures are good. This is probably the best besides H2 Ultimate H2 Michael. This figure has, great amount of posability. His articulation and painting is so well done, despite the painting on the mask is kind of poor. But the articulation is what really sells it. He is so posable. Coupled with the accessories... Oh, crap. Coupled with the accessories, he's probably the best I have seen. And overall, he's actually the most amount of fun I had with the Michael Myers at all. So, I had to clean up a mess because I think some figures took a shelf dive. So, that was my top 10 figures of this year. It was a bit rushed due to I had to do this before New Year's Eve happens. So, but I'll show you on my Discord server, down link in the description below, all the figures I got during this year. But anyways, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the notification bell, and also join my other channels, which will be not really linked, but will be somewhere in, I don't know where. But I hope you subscribe to those as well, and join a Discord server. Pretty big server, to be honest. Actually, not really. But anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.